Twitch. All right. It's a little bit weird because Twitch by default just displays the top right corner of the video until it's actually started, or I'm not sure how it's going, but whatever. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Dynamic intro in game. Excuse me? I do have that, and it looks like it works. Um, yeah, but looks like I'm still audible on Twitch, although I muted my mic. Whatever. I will try to. In the last minute, we can talk, I guess.
You're still getting a lot of regular people joining to check this out.
Yeah, like we are close to 4,000 now, but I'm still echoing. Monitor only, monitor off. Okay, let's see. Hopefully I
Better.
Hello, heroes. This is episode 7 of the Tuesday tournament reviews. In this series, I have a guest who brings me a tournament and we discuss all the questionable hands together. My name is Waldemar Kreuzer. You may also know me as Luigi. I'm a long-time poker pro and a poker coach, and I'm one of the steadiest winners in mid-stakes tournaments. I also had some success live, and my goal is to help you become a steady winner yourself. This week's guest is a regular in Discord. In our Discord channel, you can find the link to our Discord channel, Discord community, in the description below in Twitch. And his name is Nick. Also goes by the nickname Hattie009. Looks like I need to fix a little bit about the video itself. Let's go back there. All right. Hello, Eddie. How are you? How was the week?
Yeah, very good. Looking forward to Christmas.
All right. Is the kid? Are the kids still there and excited about? I guess. I guess they are.
Yeah, you spotted them running about with the reindeer antlers on earlier on, didn't you?
Okay. All right. If I'm not mistaken, then we were at hand number 44. In case you are not familiar with Check Decide, for the chat, Check Decide is a tool to upload, share full tournaments, full cash game sessions super quickly, and to compare decisions without typing a word. So whenever I open a hand, I face the same exact decisions as the original hero did. So let's say I fold this packet use pair of uses, and I can see that my fold didn't match the decision of the original player, and the hand goes on according to the decisions of the original hero. So once again, I mismatched, and if we raise, then I think we have to bet big, and this time it is close to your decision, and the hand is over, and we can see that I pretty much mismatched your decisions in this hand. So this is basically how Check Decide works, and you uploaded this to your profile, which is Hattie009, and I visited your profile and clicked the whole tournament through. It took me about like a little bit more than 1 hour to go through all the 241 hands, and now if I'm selecting my name, I can see which hands I played differently than you, and we can display those hands, and we can discuss all reasoning behind or different plays. So for example, I would open this and you folded the ace-9 offsuit from this position. But we discussed this earlier in part 1, and we were at hand number 44, and now we are going with hand number 45, which is a pair of jacks. Always a little bit tricky to play, and let's go with this. So we can see that there is a 14 BB all-in under the gun. What do you think about this range? Like, what kind of hands would you put into this range?
Probably some medium pocket pairs, like tens down to sixes, ace queen, ace jack, maybe ace 10 sorted, maybe king jack sorted, king queen sorted. I think he'll min raise the top, like aces, kings, queens, ace king. So yeah, somewhere on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like very reasonable. Probably a little bit capped of a range. Sometimes you can see some like pair of queens jammed here. Rarely, depending on the stage of the tournament. Like in my experience, like less regular players often just jam strong hands as well here, just because they are scared if they are deep in a tournament not to be outdrawn just because they played the hand like slow. So the deeper you are in the tournament, the more you should expect from weaker players to jam and close to uncapped range here. and the stronger this range is. But we are not that deep. We are in the middling stages, so I would agree with that. I think aces and kings are very, very unlikely here, and you definitely want to at least call this shove. But I think having a close to 60 big blind stack behind you forces you to have a call fold range here. Um, uh, Mainly, you just want to call here. I'm not sure if even with like ace king you would like to necessarily rejam, although that makes quite some sense because you can fold out maybe like jacks and tens if you have ace king. But with the pocket jacks, I don't see the hands which you benefit from forcing out. Like, but I think you have some hands like tens, maybe nines, ace queen, which you would like to just call here and decide probably fold if the 60 big blind guy jams over you. So therefore, most of my range would go to a call and decide later on if the other big stack goes all in. So not that big of a difference, but I think sometimes you can save your life with a little bit more careful approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see who we have in the chat. We already have Questia. He's from the Netherlands. I probably pronounced it incorrectly because I know that usually Dutch pronunciation is a little bit weird, at least for me. Yeah, Quest is fine. Okay. Welcome, Quest. And we also have Adrian, N77. He's a huge regular in our Discord channel as well as in the stream. So welcome, Adrian. And also we have Sam Oldfield. And we will have quite a few other guys fairly soon, I guess. All right. So yep, Cole is a little bit better, but no big deal. Unfortunately, we got unlucky, but that's part of the part of being a poker player.
Would you call the jacks if the 60 big blind stack reshoved over a call?
It depends on like. I can imagine some guys I would fold, but my default would be to call because my call is actually mostly driven by the fact that if I call, he may decide to jam like tens and nines. He would fold otherwise if I jam. So yeah, probably not a happy call at all. But I think you have to go with it. It depends on like how big an edge you have and if there is any ICM consideration later deep in a weak tournament. I can imagine folding this pair of jacks if a nitty guy goes all in over my call with the 60 big blinds. But yeah, the bigger your edge is, the more you want to avoid like marginal stack of situations. This is actually one thing which many poker players approach incorrectly, in my opinion. They mostly gamble in their lowest stakes tournaments and they take the high stakes tournaments seriously. Although I think they should go exactly the opposite way. Like if you are playing in a tournament where your edge is very tiny, then you have more incentive to actually gamble. But if your edge is huge and people are burning money against you every second hand, then you probably don't want to take any marginal spot and risk your stack in very favorable spots rather.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm just trying to follow the chat. Let me know if there is any question you spotted. I would try to answer all the questions. All right, the next one is also a fairly tricky one. Like you open king queen suited under the gun, very standard open, and a guy from 30 BB makes a huge 3-bet from the small blind, and if he just take a look at any chart, we would all the time see calling here, a call here with king queen suited. But I'm fairly sure that in this spot against low stakes players, you should fold this. First of all, the 3-bet size is a little bit too big for this effective stack. So 30 big blind deep, he should probably not use this sizing, probably a little bit smaller, like 47, 48, something like that. And on the other hand, in my experience, I don't see guys attacking under the gun openers at all in low stakes tournaments. So can you imagine this guy 3-bet folding here like a lot?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, and what do you think his actual range would be, like, given like considering all the sizing tell, the situation? What do you think?
It's gonna be ace jack suited plus probably tens plus. I think he'd just call hands similar to mine, king queen, king jack. So it's probably high up there in his in the range.
Yeah, like I'm not saying that it is absolutely impossible that he has ace jack suited, but I would mostly expect low stakes players and actually all the players to just flat here with ace jack suited. So I think this range is heavily weighted towards ace king, maybe ace queen, and some hands like tens, jacks, queens probably. This would be.
I think ace king shoves a lot for 30 big blinds here.
Excuse me?
I think ace king would shove a lot for 30 big blinds
Yeah.
in this spot.
Yeah. Like offsuit ace king probably shoves. Suited ace king probably just 3-bets. Like that should be the way to go. Yeah, but I don't really see any hand which we dominate. I would be quite shocked to see like king jack suited or king 10 suited or king jack off or anything like that. Maybe sometimes he throws in a light 3-bet with ace 10 off or ace jack off or something like that, or king queen off himself, but that's about it. And if we take a look at the 3-bet size, if we call this like you did, which I disagree with, then the pot is like there is basically one pot size bet left, and this will very often mean that he goes all in on the flop and you fold, or if you are lucky enough to pick up a flush draw, then you call and you have a sweat. But that's about it. Like you don't have any positional advantage. You will not outplay him in any way. So therefore I'm a big advocate of folding here. Yeah, like it's strange that he checked, but I don't think we can jam here. Even if he checked like ace king or ace queen, I'm not 100% sure he would fold. Actually, I would expect him to call mostly.
Yeah. What would you do in this situation if I called 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s? Would you just be open ripping now, or would you rip pre-flop?
Well, with jacks, given the fact that this sizing fits ace king suited, ace queen suited much more than like aces or kings, I would probably just flat, and on a favorable flop like this, I would put the money in. Yeah, I'm not sure what to think about this check, but I would probably go all in with jacks or bet with jacks, and stack off if necessary. Yep. But king queen suited, I don't think we have good enough reason to go with it.
Yeah.
Check, and he goes all in and we fold. Yeah, Adrian agrees with this. Yep, that it is rather a fold. Let's see this ace 10 of suit. So we have an open 25 big blinds deep. We are far the biggest stack on the table, which doesn't count much because this is not a bounty tournament, but still, like we can get into some marginal spots without risking too much of or too big portion of our stack. But given we have a lot of short stacks behind us, first of all, I would assume the opener is not too wide. So rejamming is not an attractive option in this case. I think, and yeah, probably just folding is best.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, you can put a lot of pressure on the opener, and you have like decent blockers to the other guys. So if they have, even if they have slightly better hand than yours, like ace jack, they will probably fold if you three bet here, which is fine. But I just think that a thinking player will open to tight here, and therefore three bet will not work too good. But you can never know. Like if he's a loose opener, then this can be very fine.
Yeah.
We got a call, and what do you think about this flop in this situation?
Jackpot.
A jackpot for you or jackpot for him?
Probably for him, to be fair, 'cause he's going to be calling all suited broadways, ace queen, things like that. So it's not good for me.
Yeah, like not really. You have some equity, obviously, but many times you are up against a dominating hand. Like ace jack is a very viable, very possible option. King queen blocks your straight potential. So yep.
Yeah.
I think checking back is very standard here. Yep, that's fine. We being the turn, which is always good. I would bet small here. You elected to bet big. It depends on the player. Like if he's a thinking player, he knows that we have a huge amount of aces here, and therefore he will struggle calling a 1/3 pot bet on the turn. Like
Yeah.
I would probably fold to 1/3 with all the two pairs. But if he's not that good a player, then you may go you may want to go with the bigger size. But
I
most of the
expect it to chop a lot here as well.
yeah, like with chopping hands, you cannot do much. Like you will chop anyways. so
Yeah.
so you should not focus your strategy on aces, obviously. But you would like to target two pairs, and I think a small bet works better against most of the guys than.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. So these are hands where we agreed. So we are going to skip these. It's possible that these hands contain brilliant plays from Nick. So apologies for not going through all of them, but we want to focus on efficiency. So we want to focus on hands where we actually disagreed. So therefore, in those hands, we probably have some things to actually discuss and like gain some valuable thoughts from there. And yeah, this is a tricky one once again. Like not so much. The preflop call I think is quite okay. Yeah, like
Yeah. I like three betting as well, so you don't get rejammed on so light in the blinds.
yeah, if you three bet here, you're the small blind and the big blind with these stacks. They probably fold some marginal ace x hands and some marginal pocket pairs. They would happily jam on you if they if you just call. So I think calling is three betting is slightly better.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, like we are not happy that this guy bets this flop because this flop should be checked most of the time by the cutoff opener. When you open from the cutoff and someone calls you from the button has usually a pretty decent range, while on the in the cutoff position you have quite a few offsuit semi-trashy hands. So therefore, especially on Broadway textures, the cutoff player has quite a big disadvantage. Obviously, the cutoff has some monster hands like aces and kings and ace queen, which the button doesn't have. But these are just so few compared to the whole range of the cutoff that the cutoff does better by just checking basically the entire range and go from there. But still, simply just calling is fine here. We have Duran also on the board. Welcome back, Duran. How are you? And on the turn, I think we have enough like flop flushes and yeah, basically flushes to justify a bet here, mainly for like protection / value. I can imagine a weaker player c-betting some hands, like even like ace jack. I have seen sometimes being c-bet here, or weaker queen x hands. I can imagine the cutoff having. So therefore you can make some value by betting, and population in general is not tricky enough to check enough strong hands here on the turn. Obviously, against a strong player, you have to be careful betting this turn, because this didn't change too much on the board to your favor. So it rather highlighted the advantage of the few monster hands he can have, like aces or kings are stronger here. But I don't think they check raise enough. They just bet with their flushes or with their aces and kings, so their checks are generally weak. So not having a diamond or hand is pretty vulnerable to even to hands like ace 10 with the 10 of diamond, or if he somehow made a c-bet with sevens with the 7 of diamond, it would be pretty disappointing to lose to on a four flush run out. So I would make a bet. It is just much easier there. And the other advantage of the bet is that we don't cap our range. So I'm not saying it's super likely that he realizes this and runs some like monster bluffs against us if he check back, but against a very good opponent, I would be careful with that, because some guys are capable of check raising the river with a bluff, or over betting like 4 times the pot, and then your hand becomes really tricky to play and evaluate. So yep. If we got here, we win like 98% of the time, and probably we can get some calls from weaker queens as well. So I like the bet, but once again, we have to keep in mind that we are capped. So against a good regular, we should be somewhat prepared for that. Think about what we want to value bet and what we don't. But yeah, against weaker guys, it is completely fine. He should 100% check this holdings. This is a very, very bad c-bet on the flop. This is a very easy check call on the flop. All right. Let's see the 60th one. Fucking nines. We have 13%, 13 BB all in and an isolation. How come we disagreed on this? I think it's a fairly easy fold. Yeah, you made a call here.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I had some reads on the players there, but no, I think it is a fold.
Yeah, like yeah, I will probably make a note and put this to the Hold'em resources calculator, and yeah, hand number 60, and I will post the results in the Discord channel. So so we will see that there, but I'm pretty sure that against any normal ranges, this is a fold.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were in pretty good shape actually, but yes, we lost it. All right, King tray of suit. Yeah, we have a limp, and let's see what the solvers suggest. So in case you are not familiar with the solvers, I probably mentioned last time that solvers are basically solutions to the game experimented by robots. So some clever engineers, some clever software developers designed some robots, the poker robots, to play against each other, and they let these robots to adjust to each other and exploit any weakness they see in each other's game. And they adjusted, they kept adjusting, and they came to a conclusion, which is the game theory optimal strategy, which is a strategy they cannot, no side can make any further adjustment to increase profit. So these are very interesting and useful results. I'm not saying you should follow these like blindly, but it is valuable to be familiar with these ranges. Hello, sweetheart. How are you?
Hi to Luigi.
Hi.
Hi.
So we can check what the robots suggest. These ranges are made by Monker Solver, I think. So against a small blind limp, 60 big blinds deep, they suggest a strategy like this. We may have discussed something similar in the earlier episodes, but mainly what you see is that the big blind shall raise suited aces, suited kings, suited queens pretty aggressively, all the suited connectors and suited gappers, pairs, and with the offsuit hands, the strongest offsuit aces and some offsuit broadways. But with the offsuit broadways, he suggests being somewhat careful because small blind actually limp raises quite a lot. And another group of hands which is worth mentioning are these like absolute trash, like 7 use of suit, 8 use of suit, 8 tray of suit, which benefit from the small blind limp folding hands like queen use of suit and other hands like that. So I thought that king tray of suit would sometimes be in the isolation range, but it is not really, only a very small portion of the time, so probably checking is fine. Yep. And on the flop, you decided to make a bet, which in practice probably is fine, because people are not tricky enough from the small blind. They should be somewhat tricky, trapping some like two pairs, probably jack 7 type 2 pairs, and some semi bluffs as well to check raise. So you don't have too many strong kings. We can agree on that, right? Because you didn't raise pre-flop. So therefore, he can have some like pocket kings, pocket jacks even. He went for a limp raise pre-flop, which we can see that the small blind does pretty frequently. This is the small blind strategy. We can see that aces, king, queens, jacks are very frequently limped to limp raise, and also ace king almost all the time is a limp raise. So he can have all these strong hands, and if you start betting all your kings against the tricky player, you may get into some very questionable situations. Against a more straightforward guy, betting is probably fine, but I like checking the weakest kings behind and not betting too much on this texture, because I realize that this is mainly his texture, and also he expects me to bet most of the kings in this spot. So if I check behind, I can create some surprises on the turn and river, having some really strong hands there, and I can catch bluffs. I can make team value bets. So I think you perform better by checking this behind, especially that this is not a super vulnerable hand in this situation, especially that most of the guys just bet their straight draws right away on the flop. so you don't have to worry about giving too many free outs to a guy. Many times he has something like 10-6 or even worse. So you don't risk too much by giving a free card to an almost dead hand. So I like checking this, and this is quite an important concept. I actually posted a few sentences about this to the Discord channel. It was actually Quest who asked me about bet sizing and betting strategies in general, and I said that one of the main principles in No Limit Hold'em is that in position you mainly want to delay the action to the later streets, because you are in position, you want to gain as much information as possible, you want to maximize your positional advantage, while out of position you mainly want to play fast. So therefore I like a check here, because our hand is not vulnerable at all, and we can mislead your opponent a lot. Yeah, let's see this one. The raise is fine, and yeah, on this texture I think mid position versus mid position, this is a relatively early position to call. I think he can have a lot of easy calls here. He has a lot of queens, queen x hands, pocket pairs, suited aces, and we actually block.
I don't see about this one.
No, check is fine. So
all right. I thought I'd give a lead then.
But on the turn it is quite tricky, because if he has any queen x to check behind, like his weakest queens are probably queen 10 and queen 9, and there is a chance that he checks those behind. And other than that, what are his next strongest holdings? Maybe 10s and 9s, no?
9s, yeah, 8s.
Yeah, so our hand is relatively good for to start running a bluffs, because we can check quite a lot of queen x hands, and if we did so, then we feel very comfortable on this 5 that we still have the best hand, so we can apply big sizings here. And
we chose a different hand to run bluffs, seeing as we block 10s and 9s, which is what we're targeting. Would it be better to bluff a different hand rather than 10-9, seeing as we're trying to target 10s and 9s to fold?
Well, actually, I'm not really expecting him to fold 10s or 9s. Those are quite high in his range. I'm considering selecting this hand to run a bluff, because I block 10s and 9s, which are probably his his strongest hand, amongst his strongest hand.
Okay. Right, I'm in, just 1 second.
All
sorry,
right.
Louis.
No worries.
What's the matter?
All right, let's see some questions. Maybe you have some in the chat. Not yet, really. Yeah, actually, Raise Your Edge does a really good job in teaching tournaments. I'm a big fan of them, and much respect to them. Yep. We have Pokizokni here. Hello, great show. Thank you, Pokizokni. Welcome, and yep, we'll continue this every Tuesday. All right. So given that 10s and 9s are in amongst his strongest hands possible here, that's another reason why that's the main reason why I would like to use this as a bluff potentially, and as he has quite a capped range, like he may have like ace 5 suited from time to time. Maybe he 3-bets some of those pre-flop, and if he calls them, then he has exactly 2 of them, the spades and the what is the other? Yeah, the diamonds. Yeah, but the diamonds may also bet on the flop sometimes. So I don't think it's too realistic or too much of a threat that he has ace-5. So I like the bet, and if I target capped ranges, I like using overbet most of the time. As you can see, we don't suffer from finding bluff candidates, so we are happy to use overbets here to put real pressure on his medium holdings. And I would do the same with like aces, kings if I check them, or pocket sevens if I check them, or any queen X basically which I checked. I would probably overbet with those, and then I can put some draws and some hands like this for blockers, and that strategy works well. This is actually like somewhat of a leak from the mid-stakes players, that they don't use overbets enough, and therefore many times they don't have bluffs enough, because in this situation Villain has quite a lot of medium hands, like the pocket eights, 6-7, ace-7, pocket sixes, even pocket fours, etc. And if you just make a standard size small delayed c bet, many times they just call you, and you just lose a bet, and you have the impression that probably these bets just don't work, and therefore you give up on betting in this situation. But if you start using these overbets, which are dictated by the form of the range, that he has a capped range and you have a polar but uncapped range, these huge bets suit these situations much better.
Nice.
Jack Reg, hi all, just sign up to check this site. Great site. Thank you, Jack Reg. It is going to be even better. The real crazy features are just on their way. We will have videos inserted to the hand, popping up if you made a misstep, and voice commentary attached to the hands, etc. Strongly suggested. Actually, let me show you just if you like the show. 1 second, I'm switching to the other browser. Yeah, if you like the show, then I strongly suggest going to checkthisite.com, opening this CD original profile, and you can find quite a few detailed tournaments, real tournaments, where I commented on the hand histories, and these are hand histories accessible for just $9 per month. And I made dozens of comments in all the tournaments. You can see tournaments from Olimpev, Belabachi, from myself, and also some old tournaments reviewed from Burst 320 and Old Regular, just showing how the game changed, what leaks he has with his old school style, and what he should do to pick up with the latest trends. So I strongly suggest this. I believe this is probably the best way to spend $9 if you want to improve in tournaments.
You're biased, so Luigi.
Yeah, like I truly believe in this. Like I have 20 or 30 private students at this moment, and with many of them, Check the Site is the only way to find the common language, because some of them are very beginners, and then they need this kind of visual approach to the game. Yep. All right, let's get back to the game, and we can see ace tray suited with a low match percentage. Yeah, like in the old ranges, for example, in the Raise Your Edge Masterclass, many times these low suited aces were 3-bet hands, which is quite okay. I'm not saying it's bad. You can put a lot of reason behind three betting this type of hands, especially if the blinds are aggressive or particularly strong. Then you may want to force them out of the pot. But by default, these hands actually perform better by just calling, because with the ace tray you actually have some straight potential. So you have a very easy time playing these from position. And the hands you should rather 3-bet are ace-6 suited or ace-7 suited, or some offsuit medium type aces like ace-9 offsuit, ace-8 offsuit. Those are perfect hands to 3-bet. And I would rather just call this one.
Yeah. You just need to maximize your screen, Luigi.
Okay, thank you. Switching back. I'm new to this streaming world. One second in game. Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah. But this is a very good flop for 3-bet range. We have all the ace kings, some king queen as well, aces as well. By many times our opponent just has some random high cards, ace 10 off, ace jack, ace jack suited, ace 10 suited, queen jack type hands, which he cannot really call the c-bet with. So I would go with a small c-bet. Yeah, 1/4, 1/3. It depends on how sticky your opponent is. If he's the guy who really goes with all the backdoors and floats you with ace jack suited with a backdoor flush draw, then I would suggest going rather 1/3 or even a little bit bigger than that. If he's more straightforward guy, then a small c-bet is fine. And the turn is quite amazing for us. I think this is a favorable enough turn to justify betting small with your whole range. You have some hands which you have no reason to worry with, like ace king, kings, aces. With those hands, you can bet very, very tiny, and your opponent cannot do much about that. And that's an approach. So c-betting with your king queen or your aces with tiny size, that's a reasonable option. Or another way to go is to check behind your weakest ace-x hands here, and queens as well, which you have here probably, or jacks, tens, which you decided to c-bet on the flop maybe. Then you can check these behind. The more skilled your opponent and the more sticky he is, and the more likely he called your c-bet on the flop with ace jack, ace 10, ace queen, the more I would go with the check and dividing my range to 2 ways. The weaker he is, the more I like this tiny bet, which just gives you a very simple solution to the hand, which he cannot really exploit. So, yeah.
I wasn't sure if he called. I wasn't sure what where's hands he'd call with, because when I bet so small, I expect him to float with the ace high backdoors.
Uh-huh.
So if I bet again here with ace 3, I think I'm. But if he calls again, I think I'm quite far behind when it comes to the river. So I was planning on checking and then just check calling all rivers basically.
Mm-hmm. It depends on like whether you expect your opponent to find the bluff hands on the river. If you check this behind, you probably check this behind to actually call a bet on the river. But against more passive guys, I would expect them to bluff very, very little on the river, even if it's like quite face up that you don't have too many strong hands other than like aces maybe. I think in practice in the low stakes tournament, you do better by just betting really, really tiny, even smaller than this 100, like 60,000, and most of your opponent will do nothing about it. Just check call very honestly, even check call with king queen, king jack sometimes, so you make some extra value, and then you can check down the river, and that's fine. against the more skillful player who is capable of turning some hands like 8s or 7s or 9s to a bluff on the river, I would go with a more balanced strategy and check behind my weakest aces and bet somewhat polar here on the turn and prepare to call this on the river. But if your opponent is not the type who realizes how the ranges are built and that he should turn pocket 8s, pocket 7s, ace 6 suited or something like that into bluff, and then you don't gain too much by checking this behind. Other than I think against the very average guy, calling a bet on the river is very questionable. So I would not really like to induce that. Yep. We have Rafael Vitoy on the board. He's a great dude. Super high level in strategies. Welcome, Rafa. Welcome to the show. Yep, very happy to have you here. All right. Yep. Against a default guy, I would just bet tiny. Facing this. Did you have any read on this player?
I can't remember now. It's on party poker, so I don't have no HUDs to me. So I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think he'll bet worse than Asex here. I mean, I don't think he's going to turn 7-8 into a bluff, for example.
Obviously, if we think about like normal logical ranges or how should I say this, like hands that actually hands that are not bluffs here, then obviously we don't beat any worse hand. Like if he's value betting, we are toast. But if he's a good enough player to turn something like pocket 8s, pocket 7s, pocket 9s, or 6-7, 8-9 suited, something like that into bluff, then obviously we have a call. I think an average guy would just not do this enough, and most of the time you just run into king queen or pocket 6s or pocket 5s or something like that. So I think probably
I think the queen's one of the best rivers we could have hoped for, really.
Yeah. Maybe like it depends on, like, as we discussed, like it depends on the villain. Yeah. We have Majin Buu Poker on the board. Hola boys, great content. Thank you. We are doing our best. All right. Yeah. If you are up against a player who you feel unsure what to do on a river like this against a bet like this, then I suggest just betting 70,000 on the turn, and it gets the job done, saves all the headache for you, because he has a very hard time doing anything creative against that type of bet. But if you have a strong enough read on your opponent to make a very snug fold on the river, then go with that and trust your read. But
I'm just not sure if try value betting a king there. So.
Excuse me?
I'm just not sure I would try value betting a king there. Not trying to make me fold an ace. So that's why I folded, really.
I don't really get it. Could you please repeat?
On the river, when he bets, I just don't think he'd ever like check call, check, and then fire a king. So
King. He probably just checks. No question about that. But yeah, as I mentioned, like some small pocket pairs, medium pocket pairs, and some small suited connectors, he may turn into bluff or actual bluff. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see this pair of queens here. It's a 3-bet. In general, against an unknown player, I'm okay with this sizing. But if someone three bets this kind of like salesy sizing against me, like as staying under 100,000, it is a little bit like scary for me. So be careful who you apply this against. Or I'm not sure. Is this um, a
I've actually just read your blog about sizing tells
uh,
just before this. It say it looks more value heavy if you're just shy of the 3 digits.
yeah, like it depends on like if you are up against a very basic player who just takes a look at your sizing. Okay, it's 5 digit, then I call or something like that. Like if he's the type of guy who buys more in a shop of a product which is priced 99, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you are up against a regular who is familiar with all the sizing tells, etc., then this sizing can actually look scary. I would, in general, the higher stakes you play in, the more I would stick with basic sizings, at least on the earlier streets, because these are streets which happen pretty frequently. These are spots which happen pretty frequently. So your opponent can actually have like even like some reliable database on you, because these are just so frequent spots. But if we get to the later streets like turns and river plays, there I'm a big advocate and big fan of doing exploitative stuffs, using different sizings, going way far from GTO, because those moves cannot be really measured, cannot be really picked up. Those kind of tells. Yep. All right. Let's go back there. I just see that your image, maybe it's slid a little bit. Oh, it's fine. Okay. Yeah. I think I have to keep the Discord open. I'm just learning this. All right. So the 3-bet is fine. We got a call. We got an amazing flop. I would never ever check this. Why did you decide to check this one?
I'm not sure really, because not blocking the top pair, I should probably be firing quite large here. So I'm not sure why I checked. Maybe to induce, but like I say, not blocking the top pair, I should be betting there.
Yeah, like if you have like ace queen or aces with this kind of shallow stack, I can go behind checking from time to time. But second sets are generally very good for just go very straightforwardly. Yeah. And we have Imre84 on the board. Hello Imre, how are you? Welcome to the show. And yep, a c-bet is definitely better unless you are up against some really crazy weirdo guy. Then I think it's fine to check. And yeah, facing a huge bet, I think yeah,
I don't think there's much reason to raise if he's facing such a big bet, because I think he's going to keep firing.
Yeah, like on one hand, the logic is that he bet so huge that he's probably going with it. So let's put the money in before any scare card comes, etc. But first of all, on this texture, I don't think there is any particular scare card. So even if you just check call, he will not be scared of a heart rolling out or anything really. I went only many times in situations like this, and I got folds surprisingly often. So if you got into this spot, especially in low stakes tournaments where there are very crazy guys like just going with their read and jamming with deuces on the turn with no hand no draw, there is a chance that you are up against this guy, and then you don't want to interrupt his performance. So just call, stay looking weak, yeah, and let's see what he what he has here. Yeah, flush draw quite quite okay. Other than the pre-flop call, which is obviously terrible. Yep. All right. It was well played, obviously, but the flop check is still not my favorite.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, the race is very fine. We are getting deep in the tournament. People are more scared. You can open a little bit more from under the gun, and especially this hand plays like quite okay. So we got a call right behind us, which means we are very often dominated, and we have to check quite a lot. Fortunately or unfortunately, we got a flop which we probably want to bet, because there are just too many, like our hand is too vulnerable. Actually, this is a texture which favors the big blind as well. Like many textures, like King 7 use, you can basically ignore the big blind most of the time. But on this one, we have to keep in mind that if we check here, many turns will favor the big blind, because the big blind will have offsuit 2 pairs on a 7, on an 8, on a 5, on a 4, on a or a tray, or all these hands lower than 10, all those cards. So therefore, we really want to bet this. And yeah, if the guy behind us calls, then we are in a tricky spot, probably not ahead, but still we just want to bet. I understand your logic that we don't want to bet too much in a three-way pot, especially as the caller is from relatively early position. But I still think that in this spot we just need protection for our hand. We don't want to allow all the backdoor flush draws, backdoor straight draws to pick up equity and to force us out of the pot, or the big blind picking up 2 pairs straights, etc. So
yeah.
All right, let's just call then. It looks like we have some mini check raise. What was your logic behind this?
I just didn't want him like firing with, like, say, ace jack of diamonds and just getting auto folds from me. So I tried to put a bit of pressure on. With me having a big stack as well, I thought I might have respected it a bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like obviously the imposition player can bet into quite a lot of like air type hands, like king jack, backdoor flush draw, maybe ace 10, ace jack, backdoor flush draw. He may bet. Although the sizing, I think, is rather like with hands like 8s or 7s or occasional top set or something like that, which is not likely as we block it. But I would rather think that this is like pocket 8s, pocket 7s, or some super monster. Whatever. We got rid of him, and we got a call from the big blind. This is quite perfect so far. Yeah, and the turn is an 8. It depends a lot on the big blind, whether he's an aggro guy who is capable of turning something like 6-7 into a bluff and check raise you and put a lot of pressure on you, because your hands are, I'm not sure like what your range is here, but if you have one pair hands like this, or maybe over pairs as well, then he can start pressuring those, because you are really deep, and you feel terrible with, even with like aces, you feel terrible if you got check raised here. But against most of the guys, I think just simply betting big and checking the river is the way to go, because you can get a lot of value from those type of pair plus straight draw hands like 8-7, 6-7.
I
6-5.
felt like the 8 was a lot better for his range, because he's got 7-5, he's got 9-8, 9-6, he's got a lot of two pair straights, like you say, a pair and a straight draw now. So I didn't really want to blow the pot up and then face a tough decision on the river.
Mm-hmm. yeah, like um, I get what your thinking is, and if you are up against a guy who can actually leverage the situation and put a lot of pressure on you with hands like 6-5 or 4-5 or whatever his weakest equity semi bluff hands could be, then I like to check. If you are up against a guy who will never do that and just passively call, then I prefer the bet and checking the river, because that's a very clean, easy line to take. And on the river, we don't beat too much. So I,
That card.
yeah, we check it, and he had two pair on the turn, so yeah, we probably saved some money, but overall, I like it depending how his range looks like. Unfortunately, the hand overall was so weird that it is very hard to break down his exact range. Like there was a very tiny bet and a tiny check raise, so I would rather not dig into the ranges, because this is a very rare situation, and if you want to improve as a poker player, it is extremely important to focus on the frequent spots first and then discuss these kind of weird hands later on, when you are very familiar with all the opening ranges, all the calling ranges, all the 3-bet ranges, all the c-bets on the flop, etc., all these basics, and ICM as well. And when you are fine with those, then you can start discussing river decisions and turn decisions, because they are much less frequent. Yep. We have faced the void on the board. Welcome to the show. I would be turning hands like 9-7, 6-7 into bluffs against you. Yep, that's a very valid option from the big blind's point of view. If you face a guy who bets too much on the turn with merged ranges, even if they don't have the nut advantage, even if they don't have enough super strong hands to back their bets, then check raising with hands like 4-5, 6-5 on this turn is a very good option. Thankfully, most of the low stakes guys don't take the check raise on the turn, so therefore betting is still a valid option. Yeah. Right, the raise is fine, and on this flop, yeah, this is another tricky one. First of all, on flush draw textures, contrary to the common belief, your opponent has more airs than on a rainbow texture. We probably mentioned this in the earlier episode, that on rainbow textures there are 3 backdoor flush draws to go with, or that allow some extra equity to your opponent, while on a flush draw texture there are 2 colors that are completely out of this flop, like offering nothing to the big blind. So if he has something like ace 10 of spades, he cannot really float you, while if he has ace 10 with a diamond or ace 10 of hearts, then he will probably follow you and check call you on. So therefore, in general, on flush draw textures you want to see bet smaller, while on rainbow textures you want to see bet a little bit bigger. This is especially important out of position. While in this spot, the other thing to consider, and probably more important, is that there are quite a lot of turns from deuce to 7, which gives like offsuit 2-pair combinations, offsuit straight combinations to the big blind, because the big blind defends with hands like 6-7 off, 6 stray off even against the mean raise. So those are going to be hands which favors his range. And then a similar situation like the earlier one can appear, and then you may want to use bigger sizing. But I would save the bigger sizings for my really strong hands like ace queen, king queen, and aces and kings, and probably go with the smaller sizing with this medium size kicker. Yeah, I don't really like the big one.
Yep.
I think it's fine. On the turn, I think checking is an option. I think betting is just a little bit too ambitious, too optimistic, because you're mainly going to be called by better hands, or sometimes you may even get a check raised if your opponent check called on the flop with like ace jack with the ace of diamond. It is a very very good hand to check raise with, or ace 10 with the ace of diamond as well. So I think you have to check this, and as you unblock all the straight draws, ace straight, ace deuce, 6-7, 6-8, 6 straight suited, etc. This is a relatively easy call on the river against a normal size bet, I think, because you clearly capped your range. You don't look too strong, and your opponent can easily have some hands like busted straight draws, and as the flush is completed, they may feel like brave enough to run a bigger bluff on you. But by betting this, you are basically isolating yourself against stronger hands, and you take their opportunity to make a bet, make a bluff on the river against you. So I don't like this.
Yeah.
Face the Void says that he likes the bet on the turn to get value from like Queen X for flush draws, or what, like what kind of Queen X, like Queen 7 with the 7 of diamond or something like that, or? And don't really get this. I think those are like very few combinations compared to all the offsuit 6-7 your opponent definitely has, and those are all hands he would probably bluff on the river with. So I don't think betting is good here. All right, let's see this one. Raise is fine. We got a call. We have a very very favorable flop. We have a lot of two pairs, a lot of sets your opponent cannot really have. So a tiny bet is completely fine. We have the jack of spades, so I don't think we like our opponent has way fewer strong draws he could be able to call with, or even hands like king jack, queen jack. He has decent equity against an ace. He doesn't have too many of those, so I think with this hand a tiny c bet is best.
Yeah.
Yep. And pocket tens, which is another tricky combination. Well, this is probably not that tricky. I would just jam here. If you take a look at the Monker, the robot ranges, like what we should apply here and how our strategy should look like, the effective stack between the two players, for starters, the effective stack means that the minimum of the two stacks which are still in play. So the minimum is here like 31 big blind. So let's take a look at how we should react to a cutoff open 30 big blind.
I think you should be jamming sevens plus here. I'm not sure why I haven't jammed that one.
Excuse me?
I think you should be jamming sevens plus here, so I'm not sure why I haven't jammed there.
Well, the big blind should do like this. Let me.
Yeah, me. I should be jamming sevens plus. I think it is.
So you don't understand yourself, or?
No, yeah. I should have jammed sevens to full tens. I usually would for 30 big blinds.
Yeah. So 30 big blind effective. This is the strategy you should follow if you don't have any particular reason to deter from this. Like mainly jamming tens. Actually, it's borderline. If you are up against a player who will not cause you too much headache after the flop, then then I can get behind a small 3-bet. Against a more advanced player, I would just go with the all-in size, because like, let's say you are up against pro beers or some kind of world-class player as well, another world-class player, then you probably want to just rejam and avoid the situation to play out of position in a bloated pot against him. But if you're up against calling station type guy who calls you with hands he should not call with, like ace-7 of suit, then you obviously want to build a pot against those weak holdings. So yeah, but mainly you should focus on 3-betting your biggest pocket pairs, suited aces. As you can see, ace king off, ace queen off, ace jack off is an easy rejam. And yeah, if you want to balance it, which is quite important here, I think, because you will get a lot of folds to the 3-bets in this situation, because your opponent is in a position that he opens a lot of offsuit combinations as well, like offsuit, even the offsuit jack 9 maybe, or definitely jack 10, queen 10, queen 9, king 9, this kind of hands, and he will fold those. So therefore it is important to 3-bet some hands like queen 9 offsuit yourself, king 9 offsuit, so you can fold out king 10, king jack, better dominating hands. Yep. All right. Yep. So it depends a lot on your opponent, but mainly rejam. Well, this is a decent flop. You just called here?
What box?
Well, I thought you made this tiny 3-bet, but you just actually called here. Maybe he was a huge nit, or
I'm not sure. But I would usually jam there.
Yeah.
Like a 7s to throw 10s, I usually jam.
Yeah. Whatever. The flop is acceptable. Yeah. Which we should obviously focus on how to get the most value out of it. Well, it is strange that he checked behind this texture. Actually, he could c-bet probably a range here. He has enough offsuit 10s opened, like as I mentioned, ace 10, king 10, queen 10, jack 10, 10 9. Probably he opens all of these, so he should not be worried about being check raised too often. And yeah, given this, I have a feeling that he mainly has either 9x hands, checking back something like jack 9 is okay, pretty reasonable here, or checking back aces, which is not really vulnerable in this spot, but doesn't want to face a check raise here. That's also reasonable. Or hands like ace high, you probably cannot get too much value against. So if this is true, and if his range is weighted towards these kind of holdings like 9x hands, aces, and some ace-x hands, then maybe checking is best here, because he will probably bet all of these, and then you can still build up a check raise range, attacking his checked his capped range. Another option is to bet big, which you can balance with a lot of straight draws and flush draws. That's also nice. The tiny bet I don't really get. Like when your opponent checks behind the texture, which is actually which would have been easy to see bet, then I think you mainly don't want to use tiny bets. If he has aces, he will call your big bet. No question about it. If he has 9x, he will call your big bet. Really, no, without any hesitation, probably. So give yourself a chance to win a big pot.
I think betting small, I was just trying to keep his ace highs in, because I believe he'd have bet the flop with his flush draws and straight draws already. So, I mean, there's not really much I can try and get value from. It's not, like I said, I don't think he's got a 9x. I don't think he's got too many draws. I mean, probably hasn't got any 4x. So I was trying to keep his ace highs in, just try and get a crying call from them.
Yeah, like it depends on like if he's the type of guy who checks behind some weak straight draws, he doesn't want to face a check raise with like queen jack offsuit or jack seven suited with the jack seven of hearts and those type of hands. Then maybe, but then just checking and allowing him to make delayed c bets or just to pick up something on the river and then attacking his bets on the river with a check raise line. That's really sexy and effective actually. So I would rather go with this. I still don't really get like yeah, sometimes you can squeeze out some extra value from some weak holdings with this 24,000 bet, but most of the time there will not be a big difference. Like then you go better by just checking and allowing to make this bet himself or pick up some extra equity on the river. Yeah. And on the river, I don't really get why you check.
I'm just hoping he bluffs with some random stuff, but I mean,
Even if he has something like queen jack, which is one of the most likely potential bluff candidates, if you check behind like queen jack of diamond on the flop for some reason, then he would probably just check with those. Not really expecting to fold out any better, having some fold equity, some showdown value on the river. So I don't really get what you achieve with the check. I think they will 80% call you with ace high here, given how many straight draws are busted, and you have all the busted straight draws on the river from offsuit combinations from 8-7 to jack 8 to queen jack. And these are like really a lot of combinations. So if he is there with ace high, he probably has to call.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like even against this one, like you may sometimes get a call, but whatever. Like this is a small portion of his range.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go from here. I see you applied some limping, but I'm not really a fan of this. I would.
I read another blog of yours about limping with shallow stacks in the big blind, so I've been trying to implement that.
Yeah,
rather
like
than having to raise fold too much.
Yeah, like you're right. Like I wrote a blog post revealing the special case when you have like 17 big blinds or 20 big blinds, or you have slightly more, but you are under huge ICM pressure and you want to avoid being facing too many rejams, and therefore open limping from the button is a very valid option, and you can. It can make your life really easy in most of those spots, but this is not one of them. Like you have 75 big blind, the small blind has 78, and the big blind has a 9 BB stack, so you are very okay with raise calling with almost every hand you raise here. So this is not the case when they can put a lot of pressure on you by 3-betting. If he starts 3-betting too aggressively against you this deep, you will have an easy time defending, not with this hand, but with other strong combinations. And if he rejams, so be it. Like you risk 9 big blind against one guy, that's fine. So I would rather go with the open raise, and yeah, but whatever. Like it is interesting to see that he bets to this texture, which is clearly not in his favor, so he should not do this too much. I just think that we don't have enough room to punish him for this behavior, and we also have another guy behind us, so I think folding is okay. But if I had any backdoor flush draw or anything, I would probably just spill here, because this very much looks like a random 7, random 6, or some big gut shot or something like that. Whatever, let me just see. And yeah, random 7. And he punished him with a gut shot. That's also hilarious. Yeah, Majin Buu Poker is getting familiar with Check This Side. Yeah, once again, so this is a tournament played by Nick Hattie, and he uploaded this tournament to his profile, to his Check This Side profile. I visited his profile and clicked all the hands through, and then therefore we have a comparison available, so we can see which hands I play differently, and we can focus our discussion on those hands, because those are probably the most important hands to discuss. So yeah, this is the basic of Check This Side. We are now checking the reviews, checking the comparison. But if you just open a hand, for example, I opened this one in active view, then I have to make my own decision. So let's say I raise this size here, and then we can see that this decision didn't match the decision of Nick. And on the flop, I fold, and this is displayed with green, and the hand is over, and my match percentage is 50% in this hand. So, but if I open the multibar and I select my name, it switches back to review mode, so displays my match percentages with him. Let's see this one. Yeah, all right. So this is how it works, and it saves a lot of time for you to find the hands which are worth the discussion. All right. Yeah, I don't think we want to raise bigger than min raise here. We have 3 guys behind us with riskier stack, and in this situation, if you raise bigger, you just make their risk reward ratio better. So they win more when you actually have a hand which you fold, and most of your hands are still folds against the 20 big blind. So you don't want to offer extra chips as a reward for them, for their rejams. And next one is a big blind situation. Yeah, like this is absolutely not mandatory. I just take the chips in to show you that this is a situation where you can probably exploit most of the guys in the mid and late stages of the tournament, like under 50 big blind, or somewhere between 35 and 50 big blind, big blind from the button. This is a spot where I love 3-betting big, and it works super good, because they probably are not concerned about you re-raising too much, so they still open their 50-55% ranges, and they have a lot of offsuit stuffs in their ranges. And if you make a 3-bet with a marginally callable hand, like this hand sometimes can flop a miracle, but most of the time it's just a shitty hand. You don't mind 3-betting and folding if he happens to rejam. So this is a very good spot to apply a big 4-bet, a big 3-bet, like 4x type 3-bet. And if they fold all the hands, like up to like king 10 off, so if they fold, they definitely fold king 9 off, king 8 off, king 7 off. I could name these type of combinations for hours, like the hands he raises which are better than yours, and they fold. So this can be very profitable. And yeah, they should probably exploit this by actually clicking back to my raise. That's something which really filters my range, because I have some really strong hands here, and I have absolute garbage hands like this, which I cannot really call even a clickback 3-bet with, clickback 4-bet with. So this is a way to exploit this kind of behavior, but they don't do that too much. They don't call, they just give a lot of respect, because this is not something which the majority of the population ever does. So this is a good spot. Obviously, you want to be careful. You don't want to use this move against guys who have very low 4-3-bet. I have some Russian regulars in my mind who I would never ever do this against, because they are capable of either clickbacking pre-flop or calling really wide. Yeah, against most of the random guys, I'm very happy to apply. And actually, if you face something like this, other than clicking back, another option is to just call and float very, very wide on the flop. Because if you are up against a player who does these kind of moves, it also means that this hand will very often not flop anything and not turn anything. So therefore, I will have a real struggle barreling the turn. So many times I would just have to c-bet on the flop and give up on the turn, or even just give up on the flop right away. So in this type of spots, I think the population is very much divided into two groups. One group haven't really discovered this move, so their big blind 3-bets are really strong, weighted towards super strong hands, and the other group already discovered this and experienced how sweet this spot is to exploit, and therefore they visit the cookie jar too frequently, like they go too far with this kind of move, and then you want to exploit them by floating a lot, clickbacking some pre-flop with some marginal ace-x off holdings, etc., and really punish them for going too wide in this situation. Yeah, but if you just called, then checking is very fine, and folding is standard. Yeah, 91 and number 91 is jack of suit. Yeah, obviously this is an option to 3-bet, especially if you are up against a guy who opens too wide. But most of the time it is just a fold. I'm not saying 3-betting is bad. I'm just saying that you have to be careful. You cannot 3-bet all the ace jack of suit combinations here. It depends on your villain, the table, your image, whatever. Calling is fine, and the check behind the range on this texture. Yeah, probably your opponent should not c-bet range here, and if he checks behind, he probably checks behind hands like 8-9, ace-8, jack-8, this type of foldings, and maybe pocket 9s as well, some from time to time. So I think there is a decent chance that he picked up something really strong on this turn. So as the stack to pot ratio is really high, and this is a hand probably I want to get all the money in. Obviously we don't have the nuts, but we have the second nuts, and if we take into account how many times he will have queen jack and how many times he will have other hands, like even just a low straight 6-7, or 2-pair, or set of 9s, or slow played set of 10s from the flop, etc., then I think we do very good if we get all the money in. So I would pick a line which I can explode the pot or blow the pot, and I would probably go with the check and allow him to make either a delayed c-bet like light, whatever he checked behind. He probably, like, people generally overdo delayed c-bets, So then I want to punish them for that, and yeah. Actually, this is a hand I want to build a massive pot with. So checking is probably better. Betting is fine as well. You can balance this with a lot of straight draws, flush draws, etc.
Yeah.
And on this river, I think you still have to bet. You can get a lot of value from 8, 9, lower straights, pocket sevens, or even just a non-believing ace 8 with the ace of clubs or something like that. You can get some ridiculous calls. So I think betting is still better than checking. By checking, you can't really expect too many bluffs. So I think most of the time, actually, you should just check fold this if you face a big bet on the river. Maybe he value bets some two pairs or some worse straights, but you drive yourself into a very tricky situation where many medium holdings, which could pay you, would check behind the river, and then when they bet, you mostly just pay off flushes. So rather than that, I would just go with a big bet, get all the calls from the two pairs and sets and lower straights, and yeah, if they raise you, you still have enough flushes to defend with. I'm not saying against this one there was too much of a difference, but yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. Yeah, like if you are up against someone who overfolds from the big blind, and many of the low stakes players fall into that category, then raising this type of folding is fine. I would be careful doing this. So this cannot be your default. Obviously, if you take a look at what you should do around 50 big blind from the small blind, we don't really see, like, we actually see some raising with 6 5 of suit, which is surprising for me. But most of the time, you would rather go with the suited versions because you need some playability this deep out of position. Obviously, if you are like final 2 tables, final 3 tables, or up against some kind of nitty player who would never ever consider calling here with like 10-7 of suit against this bigger raise, then raising this is perfectly fine. But if you are up against a regular, skilled regular, then obviously you don't want to build the pot. But I like the sizing because many players use incorrect sizings from the small blind. From the small blind, we very rarely want to raise smaller than 3x. This is the general rule, and you mainly want to apply how do you say that, polarized range, open ranges. Yeah. On this flop, I think checking and betting are both fine. I think this hand is strong enough, given the SPR is stack to pot ratio is 5. I think this hand is strong enough to just check raise and get all the money in if your villain is ready for that. And given that we have some protection against flush draws, some protection against backdoor flush draws, I think this is a good combo to check raise with. Yeah, whatever. Betting is also fine. It's just a little bit harder to balance. Like, you should probably balance this with, I don't know, really, like, but like 8, 9 of the clubs, but they're just one combo, or some kind of queen 10 with a club, with clubs, queen 10 of clubs. But those are like really few combinations. What would be your weakest hand to make this bet with?
Probably King Jack, to be honest.
Queen Jack.
King Jack.
King.
I check Queen Jack.
Yeah. Queen Jack is a very reasonable check. As you may remember from the earlier episodes, you mainly want to slow play the barely over kicker top pairs. Like Queen Jack gives you some protection against over cards, so you don't mind playing it slow. If your opponent checks behind King Queen or Ace Queen and hits the Queen, then that's really good for you. So those type of barely over kickers are usually played slow, and your strongest two kickers are usually played fast in these situations. But I'm just worried that you don't have enough bluff hands here if you make this big size bet.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. Maybe some flush draws, ace-x flush draws, maybe.
Yeah,
Well,
like, or something like ace king or king queen of spades.
yeah,
Yeah, something like that. But it is really hard to balance this sizing. So if there is nothing else to take from this situation, then if you are in the shoes of the imposition player, then um, proceed very cautiously against these big sizing, because against most of the guys, these big sizings are not balanced with bluffs enough. So yep. And on the turn, I think you have to check. You have some protection, extra equity against flushes, sometimes against lowest flushes, but if you keep betting here, then you very often run into just better hands like sets and flushes.
yeah,
So check is fine. If you checked with 1.5 stack to pot ratio, I don't think he traps enough. And you still have a few flushes as well, so he has a hard time attacking your bet here on the river. So I like the bet. Actually, I would go even bigger because he very much looks like a medium holding, and if I ever want to bluff here, I probably use this sizing. But this is I may go too far with theory, and in practice you probably get called more by with this 400,000 bet, so that's fine. Okay, we have a lot of hands where we agreed, and here is this one.
yeah. Blind play is not my strongest point, to be honest.
Excuse me?
Blind play is not my strongest point. One
Uh-huh.
of my weak points in my game, the blinds.
Yeah, then this is something you should definitely start working on, like blind versus blind
Yeah,
plays and how to defend from the big blind. This is something which is probably the most important topic of tournaments. So if you don't want to just rely on some good hands you get, but you want to keep your head above the surface between two good hands, like maintaining your stack, then mastering big blind play is probably the key. So first of all, you should make sure that your pre-flop ranges are at least okay, and then you should study the most frequent situations, like how to react to button raises, how to react to small blind limps, how to react to small blind raises, how to play post flop against these kind of wide ranges, because these are the most important situations. You should probably not study how to defend versus under the gun players, because there is not much to gain there, and those are more rare spots anyway. So, and your opponents will not really exploit you because they have a strong rage anyway. They open to the whole table. So you should kind of skip studying those spots, and you should focus on how to play against button and how to play against the small blind. That's my advice for that. And yeah, the defend is fine, and we flopped decent. Yeah, this I think you don't want to check raise this. This is not strong enough holding. although your opponent probably see bets whole range here, 47 big blind deep. So you can create some extra value by check raising thin here with king queen, queen jack, even king queen, king jack, or king 10. You can probably check raise and then decide on the turn, mostly checking.
Yeah.
But this is not a strong enough hand. I'm just afraid that you drive yourself into trouble too often if you check raise all these. First of all, your check call ranges are going to be super weak, and second, this is still a board where the texture can change a lot, the nuts can change a lot, like any card over 7 can change the texture significantly, basically, and then you won't have enough two pairs and straights, etc. While your opponent probably improves. So you just build a big pot and drive yourself into trouble, I'm afraid. Once again, with this sizing, you probably don't punish his medium holdings too much. He has an easy job calling you and deciding on the river, so I don't really like it. On the river, I check. I don't think you should ever bet here. Like, what was your reasoning behind this?
It's more of a block bet. I didn't really want to face a bet and then not know what to do. So I think he should have folded some of his ace-x by the river. So I didn't expect him to have too much ace-x here. Just I didn't want to face a bet off a stronger king and be not sure what to do. So it's more of a blocking bet.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a spot which many players misunderstand, like how the block bets work. You can apply the block bets, and block bets are very powerful when your opponent's range is actually capped, so he cannot raise you. Let's say he checked behind on the turn when the flush completed, and then river comes an ace, which is generally bad for your big blind range. But if you check, then your opponent can, like, your range looks so weak that your opponent can make actually some bluffs and some thin value bets with his, or not so thin value bets with his ace-x hands. But if you bet out, given that the, like, if this board was something like king 9-6 with two hearts, and the turn came a flush and the river came an ace, and the action would have been something like c bet, check check, and river check, then or river, then it would make a lot of sense to make a 1/4 or 1/3 pot blocking bet with many of your holdings, just to make sure that there is not much of betting going on this river, because he could actually value bet mid-size with all his ace-x hands, and he could put some bluffs there as well, and that strategy would put many of your medium holdings into a tough spot. But if your opponent's range is not capped at all, because he can have, like, obviously it's not super likely, but he can have some sets, he can have some two pairs, and on the ace river he can definitely have some two pairs. So like ace 9 is what could he do? Like he made a small c bet on the flop. Almost surely he does this with ace 9. He called the tiny check raise, basically min check raise. Ace 9 always does that. Even ace 6 probably does that. He called the 30% bet on the turn. Probably he does this because he just doesn't understand what you are doing here. And on the river raise, he feels very comfortable against your tiny bet to make a thin value raise. And if he doesn't have ace 9, ace 6, but he has something like 9-8 or 6-7 or 10-8 with flush draws even, then he can decide to, okay, this looks weak. I may have an ace, I may have two pairs, and I'm making a raise here. And then you are toasted. So your block bet doesn't really work in these situations when your opponent's range is not capped. So this is rather just an inducing bet in these spots, like, hey guys, I'm weak. I'm not repping here. I'm really really weak. So please don't raise me. And this will probably not work as you expect. So avoid this. You do better by just checking, and even just applying some, not with this holding, but whatever you get into, you can still apply some check raise bluffs on the river if you feel so, or make some hero check calls on the river. That's still fine because you don't block the straight draws, you don't block the flush draws. So actually, it's quite okay to check call on this river. However, we got into the spot, but by betting you make it much more complicated. So yeah, probably fold. Yeah, but you cannot be sure that he didn't bluff you with some straight draws, turn flush draws, etc. All right. I would fold this. Is this your standard that you call here, or?
No, especially not against the short stack.
Yeah, like against 17 big blind, cutoff open. It's a little bit tricky because these charts are created that everyone has 17 big blind, so it will not be too relevant. But just a like quick idea, like what you could call and what you should not call. So actually 10-8 suited is a call. So it cannot be that bad. Obviously, if you also have 17 big blind, then you can flat aces here. If you are deep with the big blind, I'm not suggesting that to happen because you just drive yourself into trouble quite often. So it's tricky, but 10-7 suited, I would not fall in love with. Yeah, whatever. Hey, low. What is going on? Like, you don't really have clean outs. The big blind bets into a card which actually has the pre-flop raiser quite a lot. So you have not much of a reason to believe he's on a bluff. And like, if anything, maybe check raising because you block two pairs, which is probably one of his strongest combination. Then maybe raising is fine and jamming on the river, but I would just simply fold. If we got here, I don't think we get here with anything weaker than this, to be honest. So I may try to turn this into a bluff, but this hand is just weird from the first point. So I would just probably check and not get into it too deep.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, but if you do anything on the turn, they probably raise. Because this kind of weak bet on the turn is probably a hand like this, or a weak draw. So if you check raise and bet like bomb on the river, then you may fold out some weak queen X and fold out some weak draws which are not completed. But I would overall just avoid this.
Yeah, fold pre.
Call is fine. And on the flop, the call is very fine. On the turn, the check is okay. And I think we probably want to fold here. I don't think people barrel this spot enough. You have quite a few offsuit ace-x on the big blind that you call with. You have 9x hands you call with on the flop. You don't really have weak holdings. They could expect to fold out too much on this turn. So I think simply check folding is fine. Like they definitely under barrel this. The weakest hands are mainly like, obviously some flush draws may barrel, but most of them just check behind and take the free river. and probably they bet tens to kings as well, and then you just pay them off. I don't think they barrel light enough, so yeah, folding is best, and fold on the river. Yeah. And it says he would prefer calling there to a bigger sizing. Well, yeah, I can relate to that to a degree, that this kind of sizing, like basically half pot sizing on the turn, it is less of a drawy size and more of a medium mate hand size, like queens to tens, something like that, or strong nine. Yeah, but still, I would not call with this holding even against a big bet, which is drawy, because he also has some strong ace-x hand you don't want to pay off.
I think I'd fold if he made it a bit bigger on the turn.
Yeah, like I think that's reasonable. All right. We raise here, got a call, got a fantastic flop, and we made a bet. Yeah, even tiny bets work here. You also made a tiny bet, so not much to discuss. We got a check raise. I think calling is the best, yeah. On the turn, I would probably jam. The reason is that I don't expect the guys to barrel too much on the river in this situation, because they will probably be afraid that you can have kings, obviously, king x hands in this situation. So they will mostly give up with their flush draw type hands on the river, and actually this sizing very much fits something like a backdoor flush draw check raised on the flop, and now trying to buy a cheap river for himself. And if the backdoor flush draw is completed, you would still probably pay him off if he jams. Let's be honest. And and therefore you drive yourself into an unfavorable situation, that you pay him off when he completes his flush draw, but you don't charge him for really for chasing the flush draw or barreling the flush draw. So if you think that we will not fold here, and there are two flush draws he could check raise with and barrel with, then I prefer rather just jamming here, because then we force him off a lot of equity. And if he happened to have, like, he can have a lot of weaker king x hands as well, so this hand is strong enough for like a straight value jam. Yeah, but the most important concept, that I don't expect average opponents to fire the third barrel on a blank river too much. I think mainly they check, and then I want to raise to punish their flush draws. They will probably fold the flush draw, no question about that. But at least they don't get the implied odds they have against my king x.
Yeah.
Yeah, they fired, we called, and yeah, the weaker king, but this doesn't make a difference because he calls on the turn anyway, most of the time. So
yeah,
this is not a reason to play differently. All right, let's take this one. And what do you think about the small blind calling range?
I think it has some traps with the big blind being so short. I think it's quite Broadway heavy, suited ace heavy, pair heavy. Probably maybe king 10, king 9, queen 9, jack 9 kind of range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it depends a lot, like what position you raised from, because if you raise from early position, then you may want to fire some C bets on this texture. If you raise from the button and the small blind called you, then you probably don't want to do too much betting on this texture. But I think you will do better by checking mostly, and checking some trappy hands like medium king x hands, etc., just to balance or frequent checks. That's fine. Betting, yeah, it makes some sense. Like you fold out pocket sevens, pocket eights, pocket deuces, and this kind of pocket pairs. But you can probably fold out these pocket pairs later on. So you probably do better by checking, but you will not get check raised too many times. So I'm fine with it. It happened this time, so folding is perfect. All right, let's take 2 more hands, and I'll let you go with the kids. And
Do you have to?
yeah. Yeah, this is a fine open. If you are amongst the biggest stacks of the table, deep in the tournament, you can loosen up a little bit and raise these holdings. Early in the tournament, I would not raise this because it rather just drives you into trouble.
Yeah, I folded that because of the small blind short stack. It seemed to be jamming pretty much any two.
Yeah, like and you don't really have a chance to pick up the pot uncontested. So yeah, it's fine. Very valid point. You're right. All right, and I would fold this one. I'm not sure where to put this min raise from 12 big blind. Like we may want to take a look at the cutoff 12 big blind strategy, but we don't get much more clever because it rather suggests limps and open pushes and not raising any. I would rather think that min raises are strong from here. So I would not try to give action to them. I'm fine. If I think that he raises too much, then maybe rejamming is better because you have ridiculously good risk reward ratio here. So
yeah,
I think this is a little bit too optimistic. Once again, a weird spot. I don't want to spend too much time on that because it is not too frequent that someone from 12 big blind raises from the cutoff. Probably a fish player, and then probably you can't do really bad by betting. You have some equity. Ace probably good, 4 probably good, maybe deuce is good as well. Sometimes you can win in showdown if the big blind doesn't bluff a flush draw or anything. So yeah, all right, acceptable river. And we want to bet. I would bet slightly smaller. I don't think there are too many queen x hands out there, but yeah, like if you think that the big blind can have some queen x hands, then betting huge is fine because he will probably never ever fold the queen x, and then it's perfect. And yeah, like probably if they don't have a queen x, then even if you bet slightly smaller, that's still a huge bet, and they probably will fold 5x and all the other medium holdings. So yeah, I like this bet actually because if they have queen x, then you will get paid no matter what, and it's unfortunate. Yeah, let's cut it here. It was a pretty good hand history overall. You have a very solid game, and you just have to like add some nuances, some tiny details, and obviously work on those type of situations when there are wide ranges against each other, small blind versus big blind, big blind versus button, where you can always learn a lot and you can always improve yourself, your strategy. But overall, you are a very steady player, and it was a great pleasure to have you here. I hope it was informative.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and many hugs to the princesses, and have a wonderful Christmas, and see you in the Discord channel, and thank you for the chat for being here. See you next week. I will have a special guest, a mental coach, a guy who I'm a big fan of, James Whitted. He was my mental coach in the BitBay staking. When I arrived to the BitBay staking, I had I was not the same person as I am today. I'm not saying I was particularly weak mentally, but I had my demons. I had my fears. I sometimes got on tilt, but more importantly, many times I lost my creativity. I switched to autopilot too often, and just grinded. And this guy, James Fitted, he helped me how to realize when I get into this state and how to get out of this state super quickly. So it will be definitely a fun talk, mostly a talk, but we also review his tournament he played recently and binged for over 100,000 or some ridiculously large amount. So it will be both strategic talk and mental game talk. I'm really looking forward to it. So stay with us next week, and yes, see you there. Merry Christmas to everyone. It was fun.